I just got here and I'm already being inappropriate. I didn't even open my mouth yet.
That was um that was some sinister ass music to play over someone
Was
had.
it? Was
Yeah.
it?
I started looking, I was like, that
Should I have hey, listen. But it is it's the music I play all the time here. I mean, you know.
I mean, that is the truth. But I was just saying, like, wow, coincidentally, it really sounds like they're really marching to see this guy die. Just that's the intro right there. It's like it was just perfect. It was just really perfect for that.
You know what? If you were I don't know what happened earlier. I dropped the link, but it wasn't going through. You know what? If you were the relative of his victim, you'd be like, yay. You know what I mean? Onward. So we'll talk about it. So welcome everyone to On the Block with Jen. I'm gonna be selling these t-shirts. I'm working with some people. It says the truth don't need motivation.
Oh,
And
it came in.
okay, you know who this guy is, but you got to follow me on the block with Jen on Instagram. Follow me on the block with Jen on Instagram to get your Cat Williams t-shirt. The truth don't need motivation. You want this, okay? You want this. All right, guys. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Bit of a crazy day. Got a lot done today, though. It was very productive. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to be announcing throughout. We're not going to be here a long time, but I'm going to be announcing throughout. This is going to be the block is taking a week off. There's a lot going on. So we're going to take a week off, and then we'll see you next, Wednesday, Haran?
Yeah, about that much. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see you a week from now. So we're going to be off the radar on YouTube. However, you can still check our community tab and also our individual Instagram pages, and you'll see what we got going on aside from the block. It's just that we got a lot of business going on because things are going well outside of here. So it's like we can't split. We're spreading ourselves really thin. So we're going to give the block a break for a week. We're taking a little week vacay, and we've never taken a damn vacay. Even when we were on vacay, we were going live. So this is the first official block vacay, and we'll be back in a week to bring you guys all the madness. So thank you for all your support and understanding that, yeah, block needs a break too. All right, guys. So this story, I don't know if this guy's dead already. Let's see. I'm on Pacific time. Alabama is what? Is that complete East Coast or
Central? That's central.
Central. Okay, so this story, his name is Kenneth Smith. He is to be executed today. It says he lost his last minute appeals, and his story is very, very interesting because this is the second time they're going to try to kill him. Okay, first time was a botched execution. They couldn't find his veins. They even held him upside down. They tried to kill that man for 4 hours. Couldn't find his veins. And allegedly, he dehydrated himself on purpose so they wouldn't find the vein. I don't know how true that is, but this is what he said, after they was like, yeah, they couldn't get me. But I don't know, because he said goodbye to his mother and his nephew, and they walked him into the chamber and strapped him to the gurney and, tried to find. They could not find this man's veins for 4 hours, send him back to the cell, poked everywhere. They couldn't find his veins, so they sent him back. So here we are a year later, and this is the first time ever someone's going to be put to death by inhaling nitrogen. And it's so dangerous and so experimental that the people in there have to sign a waiver. Should they be sick or die, should the nitrogen leak out of the mask, the jail does not want to be responsible. So if you want to be sitting in there and praying for the man, that's on you. So before we get into what he did, because I'm sure people are like, what the hell did he do? I want to show you what his religious advisor has to say. Some people are saying that this is cruel and unusual punishment, even if he committed a crime himself. And you guys, we can dissect. You guys decide. I'm always curious to hear what you guys got to say. And he's been locked up, 3 decades now? 35, 36 years, something like that. Is this going to pull up? Are we going to see the spiritual advisor? Is this video going to happen? Sweet home Alabama.
I was reading up on it. It was very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's his spiritual advisor, and this is what his spiritual advisor had to say today. Because again, this is all going down today. They're supposed to euthanize this man today. So let's see what where are you guys? I can't find you. I'm trying to get back to you guys. Where are you? Come back to me. Begging you, please. I can't find the screen, Haran. I can't find my little stream yard. Where is it? Where is it? Hi, there you go. Okay, so let's share this. Oh, he is. Thank you. Thank you for that update. I can't read your name, but he is gone since 8 minutes ago. All right. So he is gone. The man you know as Kenneth Smith is no longer. I don't know what that name means. The one that just gave me the update. Can you tell me, are there any details as far as were there any complications? Because they were saying he may vomit, he may choke, he may wriggle around. Do you have anything else on that?
I'm looking up on it right now, personally.
Okay, so let's see what his spiritual advisor had to say a few hours ago. Let me know if you can hear it.
It's a death day, an execution day, and it's just horrible. I mean, every time one of these executions happen, it's horrible. But I think that this is particularly horrific in that we're going to be conducting a human experiment for the first time. We're going to be legally suffocating someone. So this is a situation that if nitrogen leaks out into the room, then there is a possibility that tremendous damage, physical harm could occur. And, when I signed the waiver with the knowledge that if I didn't sign the waiver, I wouldn't get to be there for Kenny. So yeah, this is dangerous. But for me, I would rather, have my life and my person in danger than have my calling and my love for Kenny in danger.
Okay, so
Jesus, did they get up?
Yeah. Think she hit the wrong button there.
Something for everybody tonight.
She might need this week off. We switched there. I don't know. Yeah, I just saw the little. There she's coming back. There we go.
There you go.
You good? You good? You ready?
I can't hear you.
Oh yeah, she's saying hold on a second. No, I saw a little flash come on that first time new experimental way of executing has just been done in Alabama. I don't know, man. And the fact that they messed up on them like a year ago, I guess it's an urban legend. I had always heard that if they couldn't get you, somehow your death sentence would be, wiped away. But I guess that's not so much true. I don't get it. I don't get it seems like the guillotine, the line of people with guns, the firing squad. It seems like that kind of fail safe. I mean, I don't think we're doing anything anymore. Oh, somebody liked it too. Somebody said yes, sir. a little thumbs up. Yeah, I just don't think that we're doing any better. I mean, who knows if that guy went through any kind of pain or suffering with this new way of doing it, right?
I don't know, man. I mean, the procedure replaces your oxygen with nitrogen gas. So one would assume that it's got to be some painful shit, because at some point in time, there's a process of your oxygen leaving and being filled with nitrogen gas. So that has to be, suffering. That has to be torturous. I was reading also that the victims of the mother, excuse me, the victims' children,
Yes.
they were basically saying that this needs to hurry up and go underway, because this is becoming more so about his comfort and what's going on with him than it is about the actual crime, which in itself is true. I mean, hey, that's a hell of a story. I mean, never before done form of execution. I mean, this is like a little 8-year-old prying off ants' legs. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and see what happened. This is some experimental shit.
So we haven't talked about what he did, right? Because that when I hear the death penalty, the first thing I think about is what did he do, right? And then we can argue whether or not the death penalty is archaic or it's still necessary. It's humane. I keep hearing that word, humane, right? I personally think once a human being slaughters another person, you've given up your right for anything to happen to you that's humane, right? Because you acted inhumane. Just my opinion, right? And then we talk about evidence and all that. Now I see people talking about double jeopardy. That has to do with the case, not a death penalty. It's like if you're sentenced to death, you're sentenced to death, and if they botch it, you're still sentenced to death. It's not like, oh man, we couldn't kill you. Never mind, stay alive, right? So I don't think that. Yeah, double jeopardy doesn't apply to the death penalty. So this guy, just so we talk about the crime, and the crime is clear. He was hired by an Alabama preacher. The preacher was cheating on his wife, and he was also having some financial troubles. So he figured, you know what I mean? He borrowed a couple $1,000s from the mistress and paid some boys in town to beat his wife to death. And he wanted it to look like an accident. Unfortunately, the woman was a fighter. She was. So they used the fireplace poker. They used a cane. They used a chair. And then finally used some little old rusty knife, okay, to stab this woman about the face and neck about a good 10 times, you see. And that's what happened to this woman, this preacher's wife, minding her business in the morning at her home. So this guy that just got put to death got with 2 other guys, got paid $3,000. They all got $1,000 each. They were supposed to buy a gun with the money, which would have made ending her life, you know what I mean, easier. However, one of the 3 guys was on drugs and decided, I'm gonna go buy drugs and I'll just use whatever knife is laying around, right? So this woman, the scene was quite bloody. This woman fought for her life against not 1, not 2, but 3 men, okay? And again, the weapons used, a cane, a firewood, a fireplace poker, and a knife. And dig this, at the hospital, she was still alive. She was still alive when she was transported to the hospital. Eventually, she succumbed to her injuries. So this is the guy that we're talking about. We should be humane. Should be humane. So one of the guys of the 3 was already put to death. The other one died in prison. And then this was the last one. And he was saying he wanted more time because the botched execution, the first execution that was botched, it stressed him out. He couldn't eat. He couldn't sleep. It was very stressful for him. So he needed more time to get over that before they attempted another execution. So what do you think about that? I'll pass the mic. Now that we know what he did, that may change your mind. That may not. You may be like, hey, it's nobody's right to kill, regardless of if that person kills. Maybe that's your stance. And I'd like to hear that as well.
I think they should have just been killed, because this just sounds like just blatant stupidity. I mean, like, what the fuck? It's like, nah. We'll just look around the house from what's there. We'll just use that. Like, he really just got him some bargain basement assassins You know what I mean? To really pull off a very important job. You know, it just all just sound, I don't know. But in the end, when it comes to the death penalty, um, this is what it is. I mean, as I told you, the only group of people that I'm like, they shouldn't even make it to the cell are pedophiles. You know what I mean? That's the only group of people I'm against. But anybody else, it's just like, hey, you end up on death row, you end up on death row. I mean, like, come on. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh yeah, no. Because guess what? If this person killed my family member, if this person killed someone I know, am I gonna be just as sympathetic? No. You know, it's easier to be sympathetic when the crime isn't attached to anyone that you know. It's very easy to be very moral under those circumstances. So it's just is what it is. I don't have any. I'm not deathly against it. I'm not necessarily for it per se. You know, outside of what I just said. You know, what I mean, the disclaimer I just said.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally understand where you're coming from, and I agree that if it's something done to you, somebody in your family members, that you would like to do something that's immediate, fast. I've always said, but that's why it's not up to the mob or it's not up to the person that has been. It's up to, we have a system in place now. I don't care as long as as long as these people are 100% guilty of what they did, then I don't have a problem with the death penalty. The only time I have a problem with the death penalty is when they try to set people up and people that didn't do it get executed. And then people say, well, how many times does that happen? Well, I don't know. But if it were you in that position, it'd only have to be one time that you're innocent on death row, right? So, but no, my whole thing is this. Like when I'm talking about the guillotine, hanging or whatever, death by firing squad. I think we're trying to make execution very sanitary and in reality, sanitary to the people that are watching, right? In reality, we probably need to see what a death penalty looks like. And if it's the guillotine, the bullets or whatever, because this whole we're going to use nitrogen or whatever, what does that even mean to most people? It sounds, oh, that's so cool. No, we need to see that death penalty is not a fun thing. It's suffering. There is suffering, and there is and there's no such. I don't believe there's any. The way they're doing it now, like this guy got injected a year ago. I mean, the excuse is funny. Like he needs time to recuperate, so to be executed again. I mean, that sounded really ridiculous. Made me laugh a little bit.
Very stressed out. He's like, I need a minute before y'all try to kill me.
Before you do it, but I don't know. Yeah. So that's what I think. I mean, if they get the right people and, now what I want to know is what happened. I saw this was happening. I saw the headlines. I read a little bit about it, but I want to know, like, what you said. One of them already was put to death, I think.
Mhm.
So this is the second one. And
This is
then
the
what
third.
happened
One of them died in prison. The other one got put to death. And this was the last one. He
and
was
so
in
what
jail.
about the husband? What
The
happened to him?
husband, when the heat was getting on him, drove to see his kids, was like, my bad. It was my fault. It was me. He didn't give the details, but he said, your mom's dead because of me. And then he went out to his car and shot himself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he didn't even drive off. He didn't even drive off. He was just like, hey, kids, my bad. She's
And
gone
I
because
mean,
of
we're looking
me.
at these kids now, 35 years later. So I don't know how old they were when it happened, but yeah, that's kind of rough. That's a rough existence, knowing that your dad
Yeah, they
killed
lost their mom and then lost their dad
lost
right
their
after. And
dad.
then
Yeah,
it was, their dad's fault. Good old preacher messing
right.
around in the pulpit, right? So, and he borrowed the money from the mistress. He didn't have any money. He borrowed the money from the mistress. So right now, in case people don't know and they're not up to speed, it says right now states with in the United States of America, states with death penalty are 27. We got 27 states. 23 states do not have the death penalty. And then there are 6 states that have paused it. They have paused caused the death penalty. Okay. So, no saying, I know you said, there can be mistakes here and there with anything on this earth. There could be like a oops, whether it's medicine, whether it's science, whether it's the death penalty, whether it's, getting sentenced for life and you didn't do it. There's mistakes. So where do you stand? Are you for or against? Even with, it might be a mistake.
Well, yeah, it's less about, listen, okay.
No, I'm saying you can't do it.
Well, no, this is the thing. I get what you're saying. Like, there's a jury there, and maybe there's some real good evidence and people. I just don't like that we know that there are cases where that people prosecuting knew this person didn't do it, yet they still pushed it through. And that's where I have, to make their numbers look better or to do it. And that's why I'm very paused on the death penalty. So yes, I am on the fence a little bit because I don't think it really deters very much. And then we have people that, like I said, corrupt places that will prosecute someone, even though and make up evidence or hide evidence that would, let the person free. And that's the part that, so yeah, I mean, in that sense, I'm not for it. But it's not because I'm not for it because I feel bad for this guy tonight that did something. It's not because he deserved it. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's kind of
that makes sense. And you touched on something else that does make sense. And you touched on something else, right? I'm with you in the thought of, I don't think the death penalty prevents crime, right? I think a long jail sentence, people think about that, right? Because that's more tangible. It's like, I don't want to get locked up. I don't want to do time. I've never heard anybody say, I don't want to do this because I don't want to get a death penalty, right? And I think, and this is going to sound terrible, but that's what we do here on the block. We're terrible. I think it would have to be very public. I mean, town hall type of torture in order. That's what puts fear in people because nobody knows anybody on that. We know people that go in and out of jail. We related to some. We've been cuffed. It's not, I'll put money on your books. You come home in 3 years. Oh, what's up, babe? You know what I mean? It's not.
It really is like that.
No, it really is like that, right? We don't know. I don't know anybody. You guys don't know anybody. We don't know anyone who went to death row, right? It's like something we see in movies or watch on YouTube late night. But if that was a town hall situation and we saw people get tortured, that I think would change things. What do you think? Are you for or against Tehran being that, the systems that be it disproportionately white, you as a black man, many are wrongly accused, also disproportionately thrown into prisons. You got the pipeline. What do you think?
I like that word, many. It's such a relative term. Mm-hmm. Is it many in relatively speaking to the group that it's been derived for, or is it just many people in front of you? Because it's easy to say that, well, a lot of people, were wrongly accused. How many? 40. Well, that is a lot of people. How many of them motherfuckers were rightly accused? 80,000. Oh, well, that's not a lot of fucking people. You know what I mean? So whenever people, this is where statistics get kind of fuzzy. Mm-hmm. This is where stats can be manipulated because it's like, okay, let's see the data. When it was like the data, okay, let's see the entire picture. It's easy to just grab a little portion of the data and create a narrative around that. Now, I'm not sitting here and saying, again, that no one has ever been, wrongly accused and wrongly sentenced to death. Absolutely. I would say that, without even seeing the data, because it's the math. The math says that, okay, one of you motherfuckers are going to die, who are going to die, is absolutely innocent. But most of you are. And, well, hey, when you throw out the trash, something in there is still valuable, but you still got to throw out the trash. It's like
Jesus, Harry Christ. Welcome, Haran DeMarco. Said John Burke. John Burke. Yes, the man is now deceased as of maybe 20 or so minutes ago. I'm still waiting to hear if there was complications, because this was an experimental execution. It had never been done before. I heard they experimented on a pig once. But as far as human beings, that's not something that you can test, right? On a human being that we know of, right? We don't have access to Area 15 or Area 51. Yeah, we don't have access to that. So we don't know. However, publicly, this was the first time this was going to happen, and they were worried about the mask leaking, because those masks aren't one size fits all, and it has to be very snug and suctioned on your face. But there was some secrecy about it, but they did say the mask would cover his entire face, not just his mouth, like when you go to the hospital and get oxygen. Allegedly, it was supposed to cover his entire face to create a seal. And the nitrogen was supposed to replace the air in his lungs, right? And blow him up like a helium balloon. So, back to
Think about
humanity.
that for a second, though.
Okay.
Damn. Who did they tried it on? They tried it on a fucking pig. They didn't even try that shit on a chimp or anything like that. They're probably like, "Oh, you're an animal? I'm gonna try that on a chimp? Go get a pig. Yeah, go get a goat." Yeah, like, yo, they like specifically, they was like, "Yeah, just grab a pig. Nobody's gonna give a shit." And technically, nobody is. But you know what I mean? Wow, that was a messy fucking. That had to be a messy fucking scene. If it just, was pork chops everywhere. Just damn.
Leave my chimps out of this, Haran. First and foremost. No Saint. Firing squad. That's interesting.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of what you were talking about. I mean, if we have it where people see what's going on, because this whole thing about nobody knows what an execution. I don't even know if I've ever seen somebody in the electric chair. You never really see it. It's only you have.
Yeah, I watched.
Wait, you were in the room, or oh yeah, Faces of Death. Yeah, we have all seen that.
Yeah,
I thought you.
Yeah.
Nah. I wasn't in the room.
But if we're gonna have the death penalty, then why not go back to like a public execution?
I have to agree with that, because no one thinks about the death penalty when they're committing these heinous crimes. They're not even thinking they can get caught, let alone thinking about, let me not do this because of the death penalty. I do feel really bad for the children who had to. 36 years they were dealing with this. 36 years, and one of her sons was saying, I think about my mother every single day, right? I remember her as I remember her, when I was a kid. I still see her vividly. Haran?
Well, just a little thing, even though I understand where you guys are going with the bring back public executions and just like say, fuck it, just skip the whole trials and just start killing motherfuckers. I honestly do agree that it would cause many people to second guess certain things, but corporations would have a problem with that, because these are privately owned prisons, and we have to understand those prisoners are labor. That's a part of their labor force. They make money off of these motherfuckers.
Well, we're not saying kill them all. We're just saying kill the ones on the death row in public.
Oh, you just kill them all in public? Well,
no, just the death row inmates.
Just the death row inmates in public. I don't know. When you say that, I don't know if it's
sponsored by Gatorade and shit.
I don't know if it would still deter them. I don't know if it would still deter them, because some motherfuckers really don't give a fuck out here. Like they'll just do it just for fun. They'll be happy to be like stars and shit like that. Like,
come on, you wouldn't if there was an execution sponsored by Home Depot and Gatorade. You ain't pulling up? You free tickets?
No, absolutely. I'm talking about the prisoners. They probably wouldn't give a fuck. They wouldn't. Criminals wouldn't second guess certain things. I'd pull up. Goddamn right, I'd pull up.
So you're saying you're still saying.
I try to get down with the music. Anyway, go ahead.
So you're still saying that it's not going to deter. So what do you think? Do you think it'd make a big difference if we only have, what is it? They said 27 states with it, 23 without. 23 without. 6 have paused it. Do you think it's a big deal? Do you think it's still necessary? Do you think the death penalty is still necessary? Like, humans are going to kill each other.
The sake of sounding even more, look, after a while, the jail becomes overcrowded and you just got to kill motherfuckers in order to make room. I mean, it's just maintenance. You got to throw some shit out. Too many people in there is just clutter. What?
Clutter in the prison.
What? I'm not gonna have fucking sympathy for these motherfuckers. Like, look, what if, like, look, everyone in prison 9 times out of 10 belongs there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there are people who die innocently, but this isn't the fucking Shawshank Redemption. This isn't every situation isn't that, okay? Every situation isn't some shit where you just sympathize with the prisoner and there's some sort of political prisoner. No, some motherfuckers deserve to be there.
A lot of them.
Yes, a lot of them deserve to be there, and it just seems to me that people only understand that when someone does something to them or their family members. You know what I mean? It's free Pookie and Ray Ray until Pookie and Ray Ray tries to kill you or kills one of your family members. So, just go to sleep knowing that 9 times out of 10, they get it right.
Would you say it's 9 times out of 10 no Saint?
I mean,
8 times?
I would like to, I don't know. I would hope it's at least 9.5 times out of 10. But no, but I agree. Like you get spotted. Listen, we live in an age. You remember when there was some kind of control over what you could see, and you would never see the stuff we see today online. We played it on here where guy comes out and he's yelling, and the guy takes out a gun and shoots the guy in the back. These kind of things were 25 years ago. You would never be able. You got the, like he said, maybe Faces of Death or something like that, some of those videos, but you would never see it. So, like, I know now, like, we're desensitized enough to be able to handle, like, it would be a big event. It would be like the old, hundreds of years ago when people would gather to see somebody get the guillotine, and
wait, no Saint, but now you just changed my mind and took me all the way the opposite way by what you just said. You know why?
Why is that?
Because we are so desensitized. It's just going to be, they just hung somebody in the town square. What's for dinner? Because we're so desensitized. Remember, we're from the generation where, I'm sure we've all seen it. Everybody watching in the chat and everything. We've all seen it. We watched the drug cartels, like, cut heads off very slowly. We all saw those videos and went out and bought our business and went and ate our sandwiches. If you want to support the show, please super chat or cash app on the block with Jen. We're not going to be here for another week. We're going on a week vacation. So, no saying that now it changes my mind because I'm like, I'm seeing the worst of the worst.
It'll be okay. That just means that something more grotesque has to happen in order to light up your frontal lobe. It happens. It happens.
Haran, I don't think so. For the past couple months, you know how many people I had to unfriend and unfollow and block because for the past couple months, people have been posting children getting their heads blown apart on Instagram. Children,
that's something I'll never want to see.
And I saw it repeatedly on my timeline, because I follow people that, they try to be activists, social media activists and political commentators. And these people are posting live videos of children, people carrying children with their heads blown off and their brains spilling out and missing limbs live, right? So it's many faces of death on steroids and at your fingertips. And now you don't have to go rent that VHS tape. Now all you got to do is log on to Instagram.
That's true. And this has even gone on. I remember like in 2003 or 4, if we all remember when they were capturing some of the contractors in Iraq or whatever, and then they would, cut their head off on camera. I couldn't watch it, but it was already floating around even before you had an easy way to find it, and I could not watch it. I was like, it would haunt me to see something like that, you know. But yeah, but if these things, you're right. I mean, if it started being something normal that we all saw, you get desensitized to it. Just like watching, like I told you before, when seeing this person get shot in the back, I'm like, I never thought that I would say, but it looks like we've been through movies, we see it all the time, and it just looked like a movie. You know, it didn't even seem real watching it. It just looked like a
If
movie.
you've seen John Wick, you've seen every way a human being could get shot at.
Man,
Every
listen,
way.
you also seen how many ways a man can actually survive all that shit. Like,
Yeah.
that man is, man.
John Wick is a cartoon at this point.
Pretty much.
It's a fucking cartoon.
Like,
So
no saying, like, I mean, how do you feel about that? Because your race of people invented the invincible white man. Literally, Superman. You invented the invincible, unstoppable white man. Like,
right.
Like, and like in every movie, action movie is some iteration of that. I mean, Bruce Willis just takes on just an entire Russian mafia.
I mean, any of the, you know, Commando or
yes, Commando, all that
Rambo.
shit, man. The Terminator, you know what I mean? A literal killing machine. Like,
you know, I'm not. I think, I think everything rolls around money. So I'm not this person that's saying this is purposely done, but it is kind of crazy. Like, we have video games that we grow up on where you're shooting people all the time, even in war situations. We see people on the screen surviving all these things. I think it gives the young mind that are going to the military this sense that they're going to be that person that's able to go in there and, you know, when the bullets fly, they're going to be able to dodge them. I mean, it is kind of crazy, but
yeah. I will say this, though. I will say this, even though I'm partially in jest on here, I will say this. You don't want to condition yourself and live a life of not feeling anything. You don't, because I'm in many ways, I am a very desensitized person. There are times when I have to force myself to actually feel something in the moment, because when you come from an environment where it's just so, it was just violence, it just becomes white noise after a while.
I keep saying we got PTSD. We're the veterans, the hood. Like,
white noise.
Vegas, you know, my friends made fun of me, right? Because if there was gunshots or whatever, I would, you know, they'd be like, "Oh my God, those are gunshots," and I was like, "Yeah, it sounds like a 45 or something." And you know, and they would look at me like, "What the fuck are you talking about? We should be getting out of here." And I'm like, "It's." And you don't realize until you get around people who are normal I'm like, why are you know what I mean? And then it's like, no, this is like, no, oh, you don't, oh, that's right. You didn't grow up like that. My bad. You know, but it's like second nature, right? When people panic or there's a fight and you see people still continuing to eat their burger at McDonald's, is because, you know what I mean? We're used to that. And that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. It's not like, yay, you know, I don't care about it. It's not a good thing.
About being this way since you're children. You know what I mean? Like, there was some noises going on outside about a couple of weeks ago. I had to stop and realize, oh, that's gunshots. Like, it didn't register in my head that I'm listening to gunshots. I'm like, hey, man, what's going on out there? And I was like, oh, that's a double barrel. You know what I mean? You know, and it just doesn't, like, again, when you're at that space, it's hard to really come to terms with a lot of things. It's hard to really feel something for a lot of things, because you're just like, you're always seeing these things happen. These things happen. You know what I mean? And you don't want to do that.
Yeah, Jen, I could say that I think, well, first of all, I think there's something to what you're talking about when it comes to people that grow up in environments that there is a sense of PTSD. And also you can see who like you said, you can see who didn't, even in interviews in the news. I thought it was some fireworks, where some people are like, as soon as it happens, they're ducking down, they're moving over, where other people are like, oh, wow, who's shooting fireworks around here,
Doing
just
again.
not expecting it, Yeah.
So I have some details here. Let's go through them. 8:30, Alabama Governor Kay Ivey confirms that Kenneth Smith has been executed by nitrogen hypoxia, the first U.S. execution ever of its kind. He says the execution was lawfully carried out by nitrogen hypoxia. The method previously requested by Mr. Smith is an alternative to lethal injection. He requested it. At long last, Mr. Smith got what he asked for, and this case can finally be put to rest, says Governor Ivey. Smith's time of death was 8:25 p.m. That's what time was that? How long ago was that? No Saint. If we're
It was about 40 minutes ago.
Okay, so he was put to death about 40 minutes ago. So this is fresh off the presses or the gurney, however you want to decide. The execution took about 22 minutes, which is better than the 4 hours before, right? They were trying to put him to death for 4 hours. So this is pretty quick, sounds like. The execution took about 22 minutes, and Smith appeared to remain conscious for several minutes. For at least 2 minutes, he appeared to shake on the gurney, sometimes pulling against the restraints. That was followed by several minutes of heavy breathing until breathing was no longer perceptible. How are you, Luis Cognier? In a final statement, does everybody want to know what his final statement was? His final, see, the troop said deuces. In his final statement, he made the I love you sign with his hands toward family members who were witnesses. Said, thank you for supporting me. Love all of you. Those were his last words. 6:55 p.m., witnesses of the execution have been called to the chamber. 6:52 p.m., the Supreme Court has denied Smith's final appeal, according to officials. So he was still trying to appeal. And at 6:52, the Supreme Court said, no. 6 p.m., the state awaits the Supreme Court's decision on a last-minute appeal made by Smith. If they rule against him, Governor blah, blah. Okay, so that didn't happen. So they're just giving the timeline of what happened today. So he is no longer, he gave the, you know what I mean? Love y'all. And that was that. Louis Kanye, what say you?
To him, good riddance.
What was that? No saying you throwing hearts? Oh, that's funny. Go ahead, Apple. Go ahead. What do you think, Louis Kanye? Do we still need the death penalty? Is it archaic or what? What do you think? Does it deter crime? Does it deter criminals?
I'm very, very conflicted. What I'm trying to be careful with what I say. I used to be very biased because you have no empathy. But my thing is, if you're going to do the death penalty, make sure you have 100% that this person is guilty. Like No Saint has said, there are instances where, excuse me, like back in the day when the government, that controlled was very biased, and people that were executed were found out that they were innocent. And we see all the time in the news where people like that essayed someone and they'd been convicted for like 50 years in jail, but it found out that the cops fabricated evidence or it was a false witness. And then when this person gets exonerated, his whole life is over. My thing is, if you're 100% sure, then kill him. But my view is, I rather 100 people go free than one innocent person get executed.
Really?
My thing is, the alleviate all that, keep them in jail for life. Because it's one thing, suppose your loved one is executed and it found out that person, your loved one, was innocent all along.
Mm-hmm.
How would you feel? My thing is just have life, have life in prison, because if somebody did something heinous, karma's going to get them in general population, because it's a dog eat dog world in the prison system. So
that's interesting. That's interesting. So do you think, because sometimes I think about life in prison, right? But then I also think people who had no lives out here, like they make a life in there. And then they get comfortable, and then that becomes life. And then they get to, work and eat and sleep and talk to people and sometimes get married. Like they get to live lives in there. So sometimes life in prison, when you don't have anything else out here, or you know what I mean, it's like sometimes it's comfy. Unless you're locked up in Arizona, and they shut down that prison with the warden that used to make them wear pink and sleep out in 120
oh yeah,
degrees.
and they eat like expired bologna and all that. I know
Yeah,
you're
they
talking about.
closed that down. They closed that down. So they stopped that man. But, I think you can get comfy in prison eventually.
You can get comfy anywhere. Do not ever, ever underestimate the mind's ability to adapt to any situation. You can get comfy anywhere, man. In the most, I've seen people just find comfort in the most inhumane conditions, literally living in sloth and filth, and just like, oh no, no, it's not. It's just Mickey. He's just running around.
So
Right. It's just like, yo, like literally.
so chat. I want to talk to the chat right now. Chat, what say you? Should the death penalty still be a thing? Are you anti or pro? And also, it sounds like the panel is kind of like, I don't know, only if you're 100% guilty. But you can't vote like that.
Well, okay, let me not be on the fence. Yeah, fuck it. Yeah, let's throw it in there, man. Let's throw the death penalty in there. Why not? Why not?
Look how he's just deciding to end lives. Who
Yeah,
cares?
I mean, like, hey, I mean, if it's just like, hey, no standing on the fence and fuck it. Okay, cool. Let's go
So
with
if
it.
there's no standing on the fence, you go on the side of let's just keep the death penalty.
Yes, I would. Yes, I would.
Okay. No St. Louis. What say you? If there was no middle vote, there is no middle vote for you.
I would say no death penalty.
No death penalty. No
Yeah,
St.
I
Louis.
agree.
You can't.
I agree with him.
Because for some people, like my thing is, a lot of people that do these types of crimes, either they're mentally fucked up, and with monsters are not born, they're created by the environment and circumstances. And inside the prison system is very harsh. And inside prison, it has a way of weeding out the filth in that environment. So for some people, like, you talk about pedos, them living in gen pop is just pure torture. And if they're not dealt with instantly when people find out their charges, majority of them end up self-deleting themselves.
Okay. So you say no?
No.
Death
I say
penalty. Her
life in
mom said
prison.
throw it in there.
Based on what Lewis just said, I mean, I wouldn't want to have them go through the whole rigmarole of self-deleting. I'd rather take pleasure, even vicariously, seeing them being killed. It's just such a disgusting thing to me that, I mean, seeing it exterminated, it would would do something for me.
Did you hear that Governor DeSantis signed a law that would punish child sex offenders with the death penalty?
I believe you were discussing it the other day.
Yeah. So for pedophiles that sexually assault victims or molest victims that are 12 and under, right? I think sexual assault should have the death penalty across the board. I think that would stop it. Remember, saying how you were saying like we're desensitized? I think that's actually something that would deter, right? I think that would, because it would happen so often that people would be like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
I
that's something
mean,
that you can avoid. So I think sexual assault in general should carry a death penalty for sure. Because you know, a person.
Outside of children,
Say again.
even outside of children,
Outside of children, sexual assault. If you
you
sexual
have to
assault
prove without a shadow of a doubt, that happened. You know what I mean? That person was raped. If you
okay, now those stats are staggering. In the when people say you can't believe all women because women lie, I'm talking about a needle in a haystack to find a woman that actually said he sexually assaulted me. You actually find the opposite. Women don't report. It's very hard to prove. And even when they report and they're in court, it's still very hard to prove. So the number of men that go free and the number of men that don't even get accused, it's staggering in comparison to some bitch that accused some college football player of something. You understand? It's excused here. It's you re-victimize the woman. There's a lot in this country that goes on regarding sexual assault. Like the system is broken in that department. I think that sexual assault should carry the death penalty, and of course pedophilia as well. Like if you
I got a question. What about for the women that sexually assault a young boy?
Same thing.
Okay.
I don't care. If you are taking advantage of an innocent child, an elderly person, or an animal, string her up, because that woman.
You say or an animal
for life, huh? Again?
Or an animal?
No, I'm saying that I think those are the. No, I don't think you should get a death penalty for. Well, it depends. Are we talking orcas?
I'm just saying the fact is,
are we talking
you said or an animal. I'm like, whoa.
No, I think those are what I'm saying. I misspoke. I think people that abuse or hurt or maim animals, elderly or children, are the most heinous criminals, because those things don't have protection. Right? Those things don't have protection. But no, I still say death penalty for sexual assault across the board, whether it's a woman or a man doing it to a child.
You know, it's real crazy, man. There was this guy who lived next door to me, and I had to talk to him one day because I did not like the way that he was treating this fucking dog. You know, I didn't like the way he treated his puppy. There was times I would be in the fucking house and I'm hearing this fucking dog. And I'm like, yo, what the fuck is he doing with this dog? And one day, the dog sees me, walks out, we're both walking out, the dog sees me. And I literally just put my hands out to the dog, telling the dog to come here and making him basically understand that this is a safe space. The dog comes to me without a problem. He was like, yeah, you're better with that dog than me. And I'm like, yeah, well, you got to, I don't know, like not maim the dog. And I realized that he would grab the dog by the goddamn collar, lift him up by his goddamn collar. And I'm like, whoa, bro, you don't, this isn't a rock'em sock'em robot. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
This is why, see the truth here. This is why it should carry the death penalty, because we have a rape culture in America. People swear we don't, because it's not the Middle East and it's not a third world country. But there's no rape culture in America. There's a huge rape culture in America. We get idiocy like this. Everyone forgets that the woman needs to be within 6 feet to be sexually assaulted. Why is she 6 feet close to a gentleman? And then he says gentleman. This is how fucking retarded he is. Why is he close to a gentleman that could possibly attack her? Maybe she's stricken, calling you date. So this is why, because there's a huge rape culture here. So to see the truth, I tell you, go ask if you have any women in your family. If your mother's still alive, go ask your mother, was she ever sexually harassed or assaulted? If you have an aunt, go ask your aunt, was she ever sexually harassed or assaulted? If you have a daughter, universe forbid, go ask your daughter, was she ever made to feel uncomfortable around a man? Was she ever sexually harassed or assaulted? The good thing about the statistics is like 1 in 3 women are sexually assaulted or harassed or thing. They just don't speak about it. They don't say, right? So everybody here knows a woman or knows a woman that knows a woman or is related to, okay, or has been with a woman that's been sexually harassed or sexually assaulted, because America has a rape culture, right? And you get comments like that. You have to be within 6 feet. So if a woman's in between 6 feet, then she must have been known that she could get raped. I want you to go to any jail yard in America, stand in the yard, and say that shit in the yard with your chest. Say that shit you just said in a fucking jail yard in any prison. In any prison. I prefer you go to Mexico, but you could do it in America here too. You can stand in the jail yard and say that women that got raped, it was because they were within 6 feet. 6 feet of the man who sexually assaulted.
I've never even heard anything such. Anyway, wait 1 second. No, Sam. I just want to say one thing. Every woman that has admitted to me that she's been assaulted, none of them said they went to the authorities. Now that I think about it, no one said they went to the authorities. They just said it happened. They said at best, they said they moved from the area that they were, or they tried to make sure that they never saw the guy again. But no one ever said they fought tooth and nail, you know what I mean, in the courts against a particular person, you know. And another thing too, I mean, there's look, man, like I said, in order for a lot of guys to understand rape, you have to speak to them in a context that they understand. There's a lot of guys who went to jail and got raped and didn't come and came back and told nobody.
The done one, again, I know you're a man because this is how men talk. I tell you the same thing. Go ask your mother, was she ever raped? Go ask your sister, go ask your aunt, go ask your daughter, universal bid again that you have one. Okay. When you said rape does not rise to the death penalty, that's because you've never had a dick forced in your ass. You went to prison and had a dick forced in your ass, you would really want that person to die. So when you say a life wasn't taken, when someone gets sexually assaulted, male or female, because you guys only think women get raped. If you were in a prison, they'd probably take your little ass and pin you up against a wall too, or you tough guys. I want you to think about that. When you sexually assault somebody, you affect them for life. You give them essentially a life sentence, especially children, when you sexually assault children, but adults as well. The person is never the same. So you guys are weird. Y'all are weird.
I don't know. That sounds real crazy, because if someone assaulted your mom or any female in your family, you wouldn't immediately want to kill them?
No, he wouldn't want to kill his mother's rapist. I guess he'd give him mercy. I don't know. It's not about anger at all. It's not about anger. It's about justice. If someone raped your mother, I want you to answer that question, since you got all this resolved. If someone raped your mother, brutally raped your mother, and your mother probably has been raped and didn't tell you, this is how common it is. This is how common it is. Your aunt may have been, your daughter if you have one, your niece if you have one. This is how common it is. So it has nothing to do with anger. We can have a conversation without anger. If your mother was brutally raped and you walked in on it, would you give a guy a pat on the back and escort him to the door because a life wasn't taken?
And if he says no, he's either a coward or he's a fucking lion. It's probably both.
I mean, answer the question. If you walked in on your mother getting brutally raped, would you hand the guy a towel so he can wipe his dick and escort him to the door? That would be my question. But I mean, there's no anger in that. It's an honest question. If you walked in on your mother if you have a mother that you get along with, because a lot of you guys hate your mother, but let's say you have a mother, hypothetically, and let's say that you care for your mother. If you walked in on your mother getting brutally raped, would you hand the guy a washcloth and escort him to the door because he didn't take her life? I think that's a fair question. I don't get it. This is weird. These guys are weird. Joshua in Adagbo, is that right? In Adagbo says, then we have to get into the conversation of playing God And what exactly is justice and vengeance? Well, I don't believe in God, so we could take that off the table. I do believe in justice, and I very much do believe in vengeance.
I mean,
And
what's
I
wrong with vengeance? I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with that? Like, what's
don't think
wrong?
there's anything wrong with vengeance. Hey, didn't
Listen,
do the Bible for you religious people. Eye for an eye. Don't you religious people believe that shit?
You saying,
Yeah,
Lewis?
and
trying
even
to
in
get
the
the cheat.
Bible, there's a death penalty for having adultery and for rape. That's in Leviticus. That's the Levitical laws.
Sorry,
It's just
religious.
so funny when we hear the Bible being, you know what I mean, brought up and you know what I mean, and some of these things. And nobody ever answers the question that, you know what I mean, do you remember when the Bible said you shouldn't be fucking outside of marriage? Yeah, a lot of you motherfuckers got bastard kids though.
Joshua, I got you. I was just bringing up your comment because it was the other side of the argument.
This is
Yeah,
what I think about when you talk about, I think when it comes to children and the people that that like to mess with children, I think for sure jail sentence, and if it's a man, castration should be part of the penalty, because there is no rehabbing someone like that, and or any kind of deviant that gets off on those type of things. They're never, it's in their brain. They are never going to be able to not look at a child, or if they're a serial rapist, not look at that person. So I think castration should be on the table for sure.
Ain't no
For
say.
men. Yeah.
You know that a lot of child molesters, they were violated also. A
Yes.
lot of them.
Some of, yes.
So are we like, this is a slippery slope now? If like, you know, it's a high chance if somebody is violated as a child, and if they don't get the proper therapy that they should get, and even if they do, it's a high chance that they would become the victimizer. So when somebody becomes a child becomes a victim, do we nip that in the bud right then and there so
Well,
that child doesn't turn into a victim?
I got to answer. Go ahead. No.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, well, I mean, if you told me that it was 100%, I mean, I think that what you're saying is true. You need that, you know, you need to go through, especially for a child that has been violated. Yeah, that should be paid for. That should be government paid for. They should have money set aside for victims to have everything they can to try to normalize their life after they've been violated like that. But if you're talking about someone who's who's known to then go ahead, that's a tough one. But I mean, you can't keep
Because
on
I know
letting the
someone
cycle
personally.
go. Yeah,
I had a childhood friend, a male, who was lured into a building by older teenagers, and he was sodomized and forced to perform fellatio on them. And his parents were ashamed of what happened, and he never got the proper therapy and help that he deserved. And he turned out to be a straight up monster. And he's on the pervert list now.
Yeah.
A childhood.
List.
So Megan's,
the sexual offenders list.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you, Black Lexicon, for the super chat. Merry Christmas to you as well. So that's a good question, Louis. Here's what I say. It doesn't matter why or how you ended up that way. If you are now a monster or someone that's hurting other people, you need to go. You need to go. And here's why, because it's like letting a disease spread, right? You don't see a cancer cell and then it's like, well, you came from another cancer, another variant or whatever. So it's no big deal. Because people do grow up and they do turn into monsters, or they turn into people that want to save other people. So that's not everybody. Everybody, I guess, molested doesn't grow up to be a molester. Sometimes they grow up to be helpers. But if you grow up, like if I was a judge in court, I don't care how you turned into a monster. You're a monster now, and that's what I want to deal with presently. I don't care. I don't care what happened. We've all gone through shit and then some. But I think you chose when you got older to what side you want to go on. Now, albeit a child's mind is permanently damaged when they're sexually assaulted, but then you have to, it's like a cancer. You have to get rid of it because if you don't and you let it run amok out of pity, then it damages so many other people. It has the potential to damage so many other people. So it's like, hey, I'll listen to the story. I'm really sorry that happened to you as a child. I'm really, really sorry that happened to you as a child. However, if you grow up and start doing it to other children, you've got to go. With that,
That's essentially what happened with R. Kelly. That's essentially what happened. He was passed around viciously, and I mean that doesn't give you a pass. I just want to speak on this right here. Our laws are not based on the Bible, and I'm glad that it's not. Actually, the law, your laws are actually very much based on the Bible.
God, we trust, baby.
I mean, like, yo, you know, possession is 9/10 of the law, you know what I mean? And murder has no statute of limitations. That's essentially the crux of the 10 Commandments. Don't steal no shit and please don't kill anyone. That's pretty much the crux of the 10 Commandments right there. So very much, you know what I mean, your laws are based on the Bible and a lot of what happened in the Bible. So, you know what I mean, just think about those things, you know, when you make these statements. Anyway, go ahead.
No, saying you was gonna say something?
No. I was just listening to what Haran was saying.
Yeah, because I'm like, it literally says, "In God we trust" in the courtroom. What is? It's all about the Bible. What's that, Louis? The Bible?
It's the Septuagint. It's in Greek and English.
Yo, Louis.
And I got the Torah. That's in Hebrew and English. So, and I got like 8 different Bibles. So,
jeez, Louis can read. My goodness.
Well, I seen a lot of the fallacies and bullshit and stuff, and I like to do my research. But Haran was correct that, you know, your laws and everything was based on strong Judeo-Christian Protestant ideologies.
Yeah, but you know, you could also go into other ideologies and find it too. It's not like the only reason I'm saying that is I hate when people say, "Well, we base our laws and it came from God." Well, you know, you go to Buddhism and they have some similar sense, right? It's a little bit of common sense that goes with these things. You know, don't take something that's not yours. Don't kill somebody. I mean, those are something that we could have come up with.
But no, Saint, if that was the case, Jim wouldn't be having a show right now on these topics. Common sense.
No, it doesn't mean people listen to them. But I'm saying in a society, it's kind of common sense that in order to somewhat have a society that's going to function, you got to come up with some rules, right? And so that's all I'm saying is like, just because it was put in a Bible or whatever, it wouldn't have, we would have come to these conclusions without the Bible is all I'm saying.
Well, you know, common sense is common amongst those who are sensible. That's what we got to understand. You know, you have to be sensible first. Most people aren't very sensible. So, you know, but at the core of it all, you know, human beings need, I tell people all the time, children are people and people are children. You know what I mean? And, you know, when I say these things, a lot of times when you have children, people underestimate a child's ability to fully understand what's going on. Your kid understands what's happening. You think you're hiding shit from your kid. You're really not. You know, they're just not saying anything because they're a fucking kid and they understand that they don't have that much power in the dynamic. So it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess we're just going to do this. You know what I mean? But people are children because when people go out into the world, they are susceptible to succumbing to their base instincts, to their base fucking nature. So you have to have laws. You have to have consequences. You have to have all these things to save people for themselves. Or otherwise, it's the wild fucking West out there.
You're an atheist, the done one? The L Dunn one, you don't talk like an atheist. I'm surprised. Atheists are usually very sharp and intelligent people. It's quite strange.
He's probably one of those atheists who are mad that they didn't get a pony.
I'm mad at God. You're forsaking me. You're forsaking me.
There's different kinds of atheists. There's the mad at God atheists, and then there's the scientific atheists.
Not the mad at God. You're forsaking me. I didn't want my uncle to die of cancer, and there he is, good and dead. I hate you, God. That atheist. I told you I wouldn't have died and dead. Now I'm barren. I hate you, God. Yeah, those atheists, they crack me up. Yeah, so the guy is gone. I want you guys to know, listen, this shirt, The Truth Don't Need Motivation, Cat Williams. Follow me on the block with Jen to get one. The L Dunn one. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to ask you to turn in your uniform and that ID, buddy, because you sound mighty Christian. So the guy is dead. So now we know, everybody knows, that the nitrogen works. Although he shook and was trying to get out of his restraints, so he was probably in pain, I would say.
I mean, it made sense to me. Everything you said made. It's going to be like Haran said. It's going to be. It's like cyanide is painful, and it displaces the oxygen out of your system. I mean, so that made total sense when I heard he was shaking and everything. Yeah, because his body's running out of oxygen. His heart's probably pumping 100 miles an hour to try to get whatever oxygen left to the brain. Yeah, I'm sure it hurt. I'm sure it was not comfortable.
But more comfortable than getting beat to death by 3 men and then stabbed. A lot more comfortable than that.
Most likely.
Motherfucker tried to stab the woman with a butter knife or some shit.
Yeah, some knife he brought with him, some freaking butter, because he didn't want to buy a gun.
And wait, wasn't he a pastor, Jen?
No, the pastor was her husband. The pastor husband hired those 3 men.
Yeah.
Wait, so was the one that was executed, was he one of the hitmen or was he the husband?
The husband shot himself soon after.
What a fucking coward.
Yeah, this is.
I mean, he left hell behind. He left orphan children, 3 people he hired to die. Like, God.
It was just an old class of Mensa members. Just basically just.
So this is basically a thing of playing stupid ass games, win stupid ass prizes.
Yes. And they all did it for $1,000 each. They beat this woman to death.
That says it all right there.
Yeah.
All right. I thought this was the mastermind, but this was probably this was basically a low IQ motherfucker that was recruited to go on a stunt dummy mission. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he just hired one guy, and then the one guy brought in another guy, and then the other guy brought in another guy. So it was like, hey, I'm gonna kill somebody tomorrow. You want to come with? What's up, Bobby Joe? You want to come? I mean, and look at his face. He looks like an idiot. You
see by the sloped brow that.
Yes. Well, that gives it away every single time.
Chronology wasn't that inaccurate. You can see some people and say that this guy doesn't really look too sharp. You know what I mean?
He looked like one of the guys from Deliverance.
Yeah.
The more I hear, like, golly, and it was what, $1,000 a piece. I mean, back in 1980, it was okay.
They said it's equivalent. They said it was the equivalent of $3,000 today.
Okay, so
that's a lot of moonshine.
All I can say is I don't know any of these people, but it seems like if you're going to hire somebody, the mob would be the way to go, because I don't think they ever get caught. People just
or Mexican. Trust me, you give a Mexican $1,000, that job's getting done, no matter what it is, efficiently.
Since you know what, we got a race belt, we need an ethnicity belt. talk about who's the better killer. What is wrong with y'all? Leave the Mexicans alone.
Yeah, look, listen, man. Listen.
They taking
Listen.
over and everything.
I mean, listen.
Started out in landscaping now.
No, and the sad thing is that this preacher man, the sad thing is that he had scheduled to get her killed one day, and she had decided to go to church with him or whatever. So they were like, he told them like, don't do it today because she's in here today. So, but you could do it on this day where I know she's going to be home for sure. So they knocked on the door and they told her, hey, we're thinking about buying property around here. Can we look around? And she was like, okay. And then they looked around and she called her preacher husband and was like, hey, there's some guys over here looking. And he was like, oh, no, just let them in. Don't worry about it. I know them. They're good or whatever. So she was like, okay. So then they were bumping into each other outside. And then they finally knocked again because they said the first time they knocked, they was afraid to go in. So then they bumped into each other outside and they knocked on the door again. And then they asked her, can they use the bathroom? So then one of them went to the back to use the bathroom. And then two of them were talking to her. And when the other guy came out the bathroom, they just started attacking her and beating her with everything that they found in the house.
So she actually, I don't know if she knew the husband had something to do with it, but wow.
Yeah. So she was still alive in the hospital. So, he must have been like, and the cop started asking questions and he was like, well, I'm basically caught now. So.
Jesus fucking Christ.
And then he moved his brain matter from inside his head to the car window. Yeah, but
all for the insurance money.
Yeah, insurance money. He had to borrow the $3,000 from his mistress.
Mm-mm.
He had to borrow it. He didn't have the money. So she didn't even know that he wanted $3,000 to, according to her, she didn't know what was going on. And they called her in and she was kind of like, oh, I kind of gave him $3,000.
That collection plate must have been dry as a motherfucker.
Dry as hell.
Like you ain't.
And then he said that the husband was like, make it look like a robbery. So they took the VCR and they didn't take jewelry. They didn't take, and she had a lot of money in her purse. They didn't take her money. They didn't take her jewelry. They took a VCR and there was blood all over the VCR and he had it back in his house.
What the fuck? This shit is just, oh my God.
And he left the remote control for the VCR.
Wait, what's the name of that show where people commit stupid crimes?
World's Dumbest Criminals? On
the
True
World's
TV.
Dumbest Criminals. Yeah.
It's on
really
TV. I know because I did
all this shit, man. Like Jesus Christ, man. Like I haven't even heard of this shit before, man. You and my mom, y'all know all this shit.
I was on the World's Dumbest Inventions. I did one of those episodes.
What was the invention that you were on?
Oh, a hat. I had to wear a hat that had a fan on it.
What the fuck?
It was a baseball cap and it had a fan pointing to you, like to blow air on your head. It's World's Dumbest Inventions around. That's what the show is.
I'm just thinking the ergonomics on that, just the design alone, just
cools your head off. I'm sure No Saint can use it when he's watching a game.
All I can think about is one of those little fans that you put on the CPU to cool it off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You had to wear the hat and be like, and blah blah blah. It was meant to blah blah. Yeah, so it was a horribly messy, botched. The preacher obviously didn't think this out. He didn't think this through.
Clearly, he was no Daniel Ocean. Clearly.
It was messy. It was bloody. It was very sad, and it was brutal. And that woman fought. You're fighting three men who have what? I don't know how tall she was, but she looked like the average size woman her age. She didn't look like.
She just must have been a tough broad, man.
Yeah, tough broad. And listen, when you want to live.
Yeah, that's the truth too. It's true.
When you want to live, you're gonna go at it.
In my eye cut, and
Yeah, but there was blood everywhere. There was blood everywhere, and then they finally stabbed her 10 times. And of course, when they went to court, they were like pointing the finger at each other like the Spider-Mans. Like I wasn't stabbed. I wasn't. It was he was. I was at the door. You hurt him. I wasn't even there. You have the VCR, sir, with the blood on it. Oh, did you get the remote for me?
I was busy looking for the remote.
I was trying to find that gosh darn thing for the whole time. Thank you very much. You people are so kind.
Yeah, so just a horrible, horrible case. All right, guys. So that was our show for tonight. Please remember the block is going to be off for a week. We will be back next Wednesday or Thursday. We got business to take care of. These shirts, The Truth Don't Need Motivation, Cat Williams, will be available. Follow me on the block with Jen on Instagram. Okay, we will see you guys in a week. Don't get in too much trouble. And we're not going to be off the grid. You will see us on Instagram, on Facebook, or whatever. We're not going to be off the grid. We're just going to be off of YouTube because YouTube, we go at this daily. But we have a lot of other stuff to do and take care of. And we will be back in a week. Thank you so much, chat. If you want to support the show while I'm on my vacay, on the block with Jen Cash App as well. Give us some hearts, No Saint. The heart next to the brass knuckles. You can't. This is the block right here. This right there is the definition of the block summed up. Okay, that right there. The brass knuckles. That's me. That's my heart on the inside. The brass knuckles in the heart. Come on, No Saint. Give us some hearts. What's going on? Now it's not working.
I don't know. It's weird because it works sometimes. That's the one.
Go
thing
further back. Oh, there you go. Thank you for the hearts.
I can amuse myself so easily.
Me too. I'm like, glitter. Guys, follow Sisterhood Sips, as you already know. That's doing well. And also I'll be dropping clips on the block with Jen on Instagram. That's where you can find us on our Instagram while we're gone. I love y'all much. Thank you for holding me down, chat. And we will see you in a week. Thank you, Louis Kanye, for coming up, as always. Good night.
Good night.
Hit that like and subscribe on your way out for Mama, and we will see you all next week.